from Los Angeles, and good evening to Atlanta also. So namaste, India, and namaste from India. Good evening from Los Angeles, and good evening to Atlanta. On behalf of Department of Deshbandhu College, Department of Physical Education and Sports Sciences, Deshbandhu College, University of Delhi, in collaboration with Asht Yoga, Yoga Alliance USA, and Physical Education Foundation of India, I would like to welcome all of you in this pleasant morning with great learning and great hearing from Acharya Brahmdevji from Atlanta, USA. Acharya ji has a background, educational background, not only from finances, but also he has done management, AB UK. He was a great banker in University of Mauritius, Vedic Philosophy, Darshan Yoga Mahavidyalaya, Gujarat, India, and a diverse career in financial services industry and at Arya Sabha, Mauritius. He has been a key resource person for Arya Sabha, Mauritius on the universal Vedic values, yoga, and meditation. Right now, he is joining us from Hindu Center, Atlanta, and he is author of numerous insightful articles on Vedic philosophy. So today we are going to talk about the Gita. This is the second day of our workshop where we are going to talk about the types of yoga in Gita. So chapter 1st to 6th in Gita, it talk about Karma Yoga, the final goal. The chapters from 7 to 12 talk about Bhakti Yoga, the devotion. And chapters from 13 to 18 talk about Janana Yoga, the goal for self. So less the drama and more dharma. That is the teaching from Gita. So on behalf of everyone, I would like to invite Acharya ji to start today's lecture. So Acharya ji has sent me and shared a video, and he would like all of us to watch that video first, and then we will start for today's lecture.
मैं समय हूं। मेरा जन्म सृष्टि के निर्माण के साथ हुआ था। मैं पिछले युगों में था, इस युग में हूं और आने वाले सभी युगों में रहूंगा। अनंत काल से पृथ्वी पर राज करने की लड़ाई जारी है। लाखों वर्ष पहले संसार में भीम सरत यानी डायनासोर जैसे अद्भुत जीवों का राज था, पर काल चक्र के साथ वो न चल पाए और आखिर उनका अंत हुआ। फिर धीरे धीरे ईश्वर के पुत्र मानव ने धरती को अपने वश में किया और शुरू हुई मुकाबले की एक ऐसी आंधी जिसने सभ्यताओं का उदय और अंत देखा। रोम की शान तो कहीं यूनान की विशाल शक्ति। कभी मुगल सल्तनत बुलंदियों तक पहुंची तो कभी ब्रिटिश साम्राज्य ने अपने ही सूरज को अपनी ही आंखों के सामने डूबते देखा। और मैं इन सारी घटनाओं का साक्षी रहा, क्योंकि मैं समय हूं। पर समय पक्षपात नहीं करता। इन सभी सभ्यताओं, राजवंशों और साम्राज्यों ने जीतना तो सीख लिया, लेकिन उस जीत को कायम रखने के लिए वो मेरे साथ बदले नहीं। और जो समय के साथ बदलते नहीं, समय उन्हें बदल देता है। और आज एक बार फिर समय बदल रहा है। ये बताने से पहले कि आने वाला कल कितना सुनहरा होगा, मैं आपसे 3 जरूरी प्रश्न पूछना चाहता हूं। 1, क्या आप इस करवट लेते युग के साथ खुद को बदलने की हिम्मत रखते हैं? 2, क्या आप हमेशा शिखर पर रहना चाहते हैं? और 3, क्या आप समय के साथ बदलने को तैयार हैं? अगर आपका उत्तर है हां, तो जान लीजिए कि कल की सफलता, आज की जीत और आने वाले कल की कामयाबी के पीछे बस एक ही रणनीति है, और वो है परिवर्तन। परिवर्तन पहले सोच में, फिर अमल में। अगर आप मेरे साथ हैं तो यूं समझिए वक्त आपके साथ है। फिर कल, आज और कल बस आप ही होंगे सफल।
परिवर्तन आवश्यकता है आगे बढ़ने के लिए। आगे बढ़ते हैं। इस समय के साथ परिवर्तन कैसे अपने आप में लेकर आए और कैसे हम इस निरंतर परिवर्तन के चलते समय का साथ निभाते चलें। ओवर टू आचार्य जी। आचार्य जी, माइक म्यूट है। डॉक्टर मोनिका, कैन यू चेक प्लीज?
मोनिका जी, तेजस आईफोन से आचार्य जी ने ज्वाइन किया हुआ है।
आचार्य जी को होस्ट है। हाँ जी।
Okay, that's good. वो डिवाइस में कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, then I had to shift. Just give me 1 minute. Image is clear?
जी आचार्य जी, हम आपको देख भी पा रहे हैं और सुन भी पा रहे हैं।
Sorry, device में कुछ problem था. It signed off and then I had just to move to another one. अभी पता नहीं Zoom का क्या हो रहा है device पे. So okay, namaste everybody and welcome. Sorry for the glitches. So yesterday we had an overview of the Gita. I just hope you could catch the essentials of it. And the shlok which I quoted when beginning yesterday is very critical to this topic of this present workshop. And that shlok is Karmanyeva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phale hetur bhumau te sango stva karmani. And this is the basic message of the Gita. For whatever karma we are doing, let's just do our karma, swadharma and swakarma without expecting the outcome. Obviously, the outcome will come in due time. For every karma on the karma phal siddhant, the law of karma, we are bound to reap whatever we do. But just take it that we need to be aware. If we are stuck with the outcome of the karma, we can't go beyond that. We also had an overview of looking at the Gita from the strong universalism point of view. That's been a book which has been adopted and translated by many across the world. Whereas other books which have been translated are done by institutions in languages across the world. Going into the depth of Gita, it started with, and we all know it's a conversation reported by Sanjay to Dhritarashtra. Starting with Dharma Kshetre, Kurukshetre, and then Yogeshwaraha, and talking about Vijay. So it starts with the jumbled mind of Arjuna in between the battlefield. He drops all the arms and helplessly calling for help from Sri Krishna as a spiritual guide. And the answer starts in chapter 2, which is commonly known as the topic of Sankhya because it enumerates various characteristics. Characteristics of the mind, characteristics of the soul, characteristics of karma, etc. And if you look at this chapter, interesting part of it is that jahan pe dhakka dena hai, Shri Krishna doesn't mince or doesn't spare himself from doing it. If we look at the first shlok of that, it's still Sanjay giving the report. Second shlok is Sri Krishna starting giving the answers to Arjuna. And the part of the shlok, second part of it says, Anarya Jushtam Aswargyam Akirti Karam Arjuna. Anarya, these are the qualities of those people who escape their responsibilities, who are, as we say, not noble. Arya means noble in gun, karma, sabhav. Characteristics, actions, and nature. Unfortunately, Arjuna dropped the arms and he forgot his swadharma, swakarma. He was more attached to the swajan, the relatives, rather than to the sujan, the correct people. So the characteristics to be avoided. Jushtam, aswargyam, akirtiram. And the opposite of that is Atma Glani. Prabhu Bhai and Lok Lajja. These are the qualities of the virtues. They always have remorse for any wrongdoings, and they are well aware of the karma phal, the law of karma, where Ishwar, God, is the final awardee of our actions. Then Lok Lajja, if we have that element of fear and shame for wrongdoings, we'll stay away from wrongdoings. And the helpless state as a fearful, not as a fearful person, but helpless because of his state of mind. That is in Shlok 2:7. Second part of it says, Yachreya Shranishchitam Bruhi Tanme Shreyasteham Shadhimam Tvam Praja Prapanam. So, Syanishchitam Bruhi, because of the fluctuations in the mental state of Arjun, that is his helplessness. And Sri Krishna answers in 2:11, the key topic of this seminar about Kartavya Palan and Kartavya Palayan. Shlok 2:11. 2:11 says, Ashocyannan vasho vastvam prajavadascha bhashaye gata sona gata shunshcha nanu shochanti pandita. People always try to justify their stand, especially when on the wrong side, with all sorts of pretexts and explanations. But people who doesn't shun their swadharma and swakarma, their duties and responsibilities, they will always overcome, whether it be physical distress or mental distress, they will go along. And then such people, they have no hesitation whether the outcome would be their victory or a failure. But since it's their dharma and karma, they will always go ahead. And the next shlok talks about rebirth. You see, I'm enumerating the characteristics now. Rebirth of the soul. Na tvevaham jatu nasam, na tvam na me janadhiya, na chaiva na bhavishyamaha, sarve vayamataha param. It's talking about the eternity of the soul. And the soul is going to be reborn. Sharir anitya hai, nitya dehi hai, or de anitya hai. Dehi means the inner one living within this body. And he goes further in enumerating. 2.13 says, Dehi no asmin yatha dehi kaumaram yovanam jara tatha dehanta paripraptirthi rastatra na muhyati. The soul neither born nor die, uncreated, unaging. What changes is the state of the body. From the baby growing into childhood, from childhood to youth, and from youth to full maturity level, and then comes the decline. Jaravastha. Balakpan, Javani, Burapa, and then we go moving slowly, gradually towards changing this body like we change old clothes and torn clothes, till we reach that ultimate param gati, mrityu, moksha, mukti, sorry. And then Shlok 215 talks about the level-headedness we need in life, equanimity. Sama dukham sukham dhiram somrittatvaya kalpate. This is the second part of the Shlok. So be equal in pains, sufferings, and happiness. What happens is that during moments of pleasure, happiness, we tend to move into the elated stage. But when comes afflictions, even the smallest of them, as we say, Rai ko pahar bana dete. So just be keep equanimity in all circumstances. Then Shlok 216 says, Na sato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sata ubhayorapi drishtostastatvayostatvadarshibhi. This goes according to the Sankhya philosophy. अभाव से भाव नहीं उत्पन्न होता है, कारण अभावात कार्य अभाव. If the base material to make something is not present, you can't do that something. So that which doesn't exist now cannot exist in the future. That which exists now can be changed, can be transformed in the future. And it's the same with the soul. It's existent, but unchangeable. And then 218 says, Atma, soul, is indestructible. And 220 emphasizes on that. Na jayate na mriyate va kadachana nayam bhutva bhavita na bhuya. जीवात्मन कभी पैदा होता है न मरता होता है. अजो नित्य शाश्वतो यम पुराणो न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. Describing the way we change clothes. So these are the ways to push Arjuna to the understanding of his swadharma. By whoever would be killed in this war is only the body, not the soul. And 223 says, another famous shlok, Nainam chindati shastrani, Nainam dahati pavaka, Na chainam kledayantyapo, Na shoshayati maruta. इसको तलवार नहीं काट सकता है, आग नहीं जला सकता है, पानी इसको गला नहीं सकता है, और हवा उसको सुखा नहीं सकता है. Immutable, neither can be cut by the sword, nor burnt by fire, nor washed away by water, nor dried by the wind. So if we go into the details of this second chapter, we see all the descriptions. That is what is called Sankhya. And I always tell it, we take it to be Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, or whatever name that comes. What we are taking, mistaking the branch for the tree. The whole Gita is about dharma karma. If we want to put it as yoga, it's dharma karma yoga. Joining dharma to karma. Unfortunately, that has been persistent and drilled into our mind by the foreigners who drafted the Indian philosophy syllabus, which is still prevailing in India after 70 years they left India. Simple example, in those syllabus, I remember having reviewed the syllabus of grade 12 in Mauritius on Hinduism. They were talking about Hinduism being 5,000, 7,000 years old, but still there they say that Ramayana is in Treta Yuga and this Mahabharata is in Dwapar Yuga. And if you add both of the yugas, it makes about 2 million years. So where does these things come? I don't know. We need to review. But unfortunately, till that persists, we'll learn the way that it is being taught. 227 says, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityur dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Who is born will die. What is left is only the imprints of our karma, and that makes us immortal in the minds of people, either as a good person or a bad person. And if we've been mediocre, then we are just forgotten. So that one way to be immortal in this world is to be dutiful on Swadharma and Swakarma. 230. Is very important because it lays emphasis again. Dehi nityam avadhyo deham sarvasya bharata tasmat sarvani bhutani na tvam shochito marhasi. It's still emphasizing that within this Dehdhari, that is the Dehi, the one who lives in the soul, avadhya hai, it cannot be killed. And this is a reminder to Arjuna, whatever you are called as Swajan, if you don't kill them, one day they will die. But then adharma will persist till they leave. And 31 says, Swadharma picha vekshaya navika paito marhasi dharmya siddhi yuddha shreyo nyanta kshatrisya na vidyate. So it's still pushing Arjun Swadharma on his duties. Don't budge around. And the emphasis on Swadharma continues for another 5-8 shlokas. And as I said yesterday, it was just pushing Arjun on the path of Swadharma as the guardian of Dharma, in terms of what Manu said, Dharma Rakshati Rakshita. And 238 is a very strong reprimand to Arjuna. Though it says, Sukhe dukhe same kritva labha labho jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujyasya naivam papamava pasyasi. It goes in the line of tapa, swadhyay, kriya, yoga in Yoga Darshan. Second part, first sutra. It's a strong reprimand that be alike in times of pains and sorrows and happiness, in times of profit or loss, in times of whether you are victorious or vanquished. And link yourself to this war as your karma, otherwise it will be papam vapyasi. So Sri Krishna is using the modern technique of what we know as the modern technique, the carrot and the stick. At times he's mild with Arjun, explaining the things, but at times he's very strong. And he has to bring back Arjun to the senses. Going further down the line, 239. 239 says, Esha te vihita sankhye buddhi yogir tvimashrino buddhaya yukto yatha partham karma bandhan prahyasi. So it's completed now describing the attributes, what we call Sankhya, enumerating the different characteristics. And now he goes on Buddhira Yoga, linking the mind. And linking the mind, the word linking or bonding is yog, yud in Sanskrit. Pushing Arjun on karma. So Arjun was on the path of karma palayan, but Sri Krishna is bringing him on the path of karma parayan and karma palan. Karma parayan, he has to know his duties and responsibilities, reminding him of that, and then to be able to assume those duties and responsibilities as karma palan. So let's look at the world of today. For those who find the route of escapism very easy to follow, and compare this to the teachings of the Gita. And even people just delve into the Gita, but with the attitude of karma palayan there. Unfortunately, this is bookish knowledge, and the bookish knowledge was with Duryodhana also. But to no effect, his arrogance dominated everything, and he died. And we recently celebrated Vijayadashami, the victory of Sri Ram. Again, it's the same story. As we say, history repeats itself. Shlok 243. Again, it says, Kamatmana swargapara janma karma phala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishwayam gatim prati. This one talking about rebirth, and everything is based on janma karma phal. The next birth is decided by what has been our outstanding balance on karma, for which we've not yet reaped the outcome. In terms of Yoga Darshan, sati mule tad vipakashaya jati ayur bhoga. We'll get the life form as per the species on the merits of the karma which are outstanding, and we'll get the ayu, that is the lifespan of that species, and bhoga, what is due to those species to enjoy. So what can be called as transmigration of the soul or rebirth. 247, I don't need to remind you, it's about karmanyavadhikaraste, the key shloka of this chapter. And this is what guides us to karma. And 248, the next shlok, following shlok says, Yogastha kuru karmani sanga tvaktaya dhananjaya siddhiya siddhiyo samo bhutva samatvam yoga uchyate. Samatvam yoga uchyate. So the emphasis is on yoga to balance life. And if we go on that, it's calling on Arjun to stop his cry on the likelihood of Swajan, his kith and kin, will be dying on the battlefield. Yadhiya, with an equal level-headedness, then proceed further, because that is going to bring him the siddhi, and if he persists in the jumbled state of mind, that is the state of asiddhi, zero achievement. And it's the same in our daily life. If we are level-headed, we are cool, we'll be able to find solutions to our problem. And if we are not cool, we'll just be fools. So set aside the desires. फल की आसक्ति को छोड़कर आत्म संयम के समय न मद, न मोह, न लोभ, न क्रोध. No single point of negligence should be there. Total focus. And what we'll see, the next shlok says, Durena Havyaram Karma Buddhi Yoga Dhananjaya Buddhau Sharanama Vinchat Kripana Phalahe Tattva. So, Bhog Aishwarya brings us further away from linking our intellect, our mind to dharma and karma. That is, if we are just only on, as we say, arth and kam, earning a living and enjoying life, and then if we think that we are going to reach the final objective of moksha, mukti, that is to be forgotten. We have to start with the first path of the four purusharth of Sanatan Dharma. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And this is what Shri Krishna is telling Arjuna. Sorry. Focus of the mind keeps us on the right path to reach our destination, our goal. But if we look at the fruits of only karma, even we are given to be Chakravati Raja, that is to rule on this whole planet, will still be helpless because of the fluctuations of the mind. So let's make effective and efficient use of the mind. And Shri Krishna says this clearly in 249 and 250. And the beauty of it, Shri Krishna takes simple examples to teach us there. 251 compares our birth like the bird in the egg. We come bound like this with all these sanskaras of the previous birth, especially with those that have not yet reaped the outcome. And again, on that path of linking it, as I said, Gita is Samanvay Granth, linking us to various aspects of philosophy. 253 comes to Shruti Vipratipanna, align with Sanatan Dharma, with the Vedas. Go into Samadhi. This is insisting on Arjun as a warrior. And just see if Sri Krishna is pushing Arjun as a warrior to go into Samadhi, where he will find, he can conclude on what Sri Krishna is telling him. One in Samadhi, the mind is stable, he can just delve into the knowledge. And in the last stage of Samadhi, God also helps us to find our solutions. And if he's pushing Arjun to go into Samadhi, this is the last final step of Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga. Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, and Samadhi. So it's insisting with Arjun, again to 54, to go into Samadhi. And be carefree about what others would say. Be free from Lokeshna, Putreshna, and Viteshna. In this case, Putreshna is hurting Arjun. He calls on Arjun for Atma Santosh. And these qualities, for whether we are on the path of our duty as Kartavya Palan, or whether we've gone astray on the path of Kartavya Palayan, let's listen to that, follow to that, we'll still come back to track. Atma Santosh, unaffected by the hardships we might suffer when we are on our path of Swadharma and Swakarma. And once Arjun, in 257, Shubh mein phulna nahi, Ashubh mein dukhi nahi hona. 257 reads, Ya sarvatranabhi srehastat prapya shubha shubham. शुभ तथा अशुभ वृत्तांतों को प्राप्त करके शुभ में फूलता नहीं और अशुभ में दुखी होना नहीं. See, this is using the carrot. When he's harsh, he's using the stick in terms of modern management. And he calls for Arjun in the next shlok for withdrawal of the senses, like the tortoise. He says, Yada sanharate chayam kurmungani vasharavasha indriyani indriyarthebhyastasya prajya pratisthita. So to understand the withdrawal of the senses, using the example of the kachuva, tortoise. When faced with a danger, you just go into its shell, withdrawal into its shell. So it says, withdraw from the senses, use the vivek buddhi, the discriminating faculty of the intellect, and go ahead. 259 is about tapa, calling upon Arjun. If you can't find the way, go 1 day, 2 days, nirahar. Because then that slows down the process of the senses. Jhatke se nahi hota hai. But if you go on nirahar, it's not like morning to sunrise, don't pick anything. Just do it gradually in life. As we say, intermittent fasting. Many of you are teachers of physical education, you know about that. And when you go on intermittent fasting, it's best rather than fasting from sunrise to sunset, because it also eliminates toxins from the body as well as revitalizes the body. But intermittent fasting, this is what recommended to Arjun. And you say things which are used now in common life. So for those who are on kartavya palayan, they can well use these modes. In 262, Shri Krishna is talking in a way which we learned it when we were learning Yoga Darshan. Rasgulla khate samay sukh na lena. And he comes with it in one of the shlokas where he's talking about food. Then 263, anger flushes out our intellect, the differentiating mind, vivek buddhi. That's why akrodha is one of the tenets of dharma, general for everybody. 264 is talking about rag dvesh. Be self-controlled and self-restraint. That will make you airtight compartment with attachment and aversion, rag or dvesh. 265 is about chit prasadanam, the same as in yoga. Keeping the mind in the positive, happy state. And 269 comes specifically. Let me read the shlok. 269 is about kartavya palan and kartavya palayan. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagatim sanyami yasya jagrati bhutani sa nisha shashyate sune. When everybody is sleeping, the one who has self-control, he is awake. And when everybody is awake, the one with self-control is resting. Why? Because generally when people are resting, it's because they are tired with this world. And in those circumstances, कर्तव्य परायण कर्म के प्रति जागरूकता जिसमें है, he who is aware of his dharma and karma, he is always alert. And at the time, sukarti sukha parayan, the one who is only looking for pleasures, he will feel bored and he will try to walk away of these circumstances. But then we know the soul has free will, the choice is ours. Then we come to the next one. The next chapter is about karma. I'm just taking chapter 3, 4, and 5. It opens with linking chapter 2 and 3. Buddhau shanam chiva krishna phalahitava. So linking buddhi sharanama vichha kripana phalahitatvat. So buddhi, the tool, not the brain, but the software operating the brain, and starts talking about anasak buddhi mein dera lagao. Second shlok of chapter 3, vyamishreneva vakyena buddhim mohya sivame. And the explanation given, khichdi jaisa mili juli hui avastha, meri buddhi mein nahi aana chahiye. This is a hodgepodge, and it's difficult to find the way out. And then this is Arjun explaining himself that his state of mind is in the khichdi state. Shri Krishna replies, third shlok, second part, Dhyana yogena sankhyanam karma yoge yoginam. He's using the word dhyan yogena sankhya yanam karma yogena yoginam. It's just telling, it's not dhyan yoga separately, karma yoga separately, and yoga another issue. It's linking dhyan, and dhyan specifically in the chronology he described, which is Sankhya, that is enumerating 1, 2, 3 up to the final, and then applying them in the karma. And this is the yoga of the Gita. If we understand that, we'll understand that there is no multiple path in the Gita, it's one path. And that one path is the combination of dhyan, karma, and bhakti. If we look into the chapter 3, which is more known as Sankhya Dhyan, they're also insisting on swadharma, swakarma. And the person who follows swadharma and swakarma is exercising bhakti. And on that path, he's pushed to karma. And imagine Arjun in that state of dilemma, having no knowledge how to find his way out. Going into the battle, he would have lost the battle. And only on the basis of dhyan, but no fighting, no dedication to the cause of swadharma and swakarma, the outcome would have been different. And without dedication to the cause, there also the outcome would have been different. So we need to remind ourselves that the Gita has a holistic approach, which unfortunately we've been taught to break it into various parts. But as we say, if we look at one single person, the state of mind is well, but physically he's not well. Can he still focus to achieve his objectives? No, or very rarely. And if he's physically well, but mentally unwell, it's the same outcome. So we always need to take the holistic approach. And Sankhya says, Tat purvak kartavya akartavya ka dhyan prapt karke karma kare. And Yoga says, go to the Tattva Darshi Paropkari Mahatma. Dhyan prapt karke sat karma mein prerit hona. The final objective is the same, to indulge into our meritorious duties. It's up to us to decide whether we assess it on kartavya akartavya, putting the questions to ourselves, or learn from the life experiences and life knowledge of others. On Shlok 345, it's talking about Nishkam and Nikamma. Let's look at this Shlok 304. 304 is saying, Na karmana manarambhatrai karmyam purushošnute na cha sanyamasana deva siddhim samadhikchati. First understand, Nishkarma, that is Nikamma Karmahin, that is playing truant on Swadharma and Swakarma. जिसको कहते हैं ना हाथों पर हाथ लेकर के बैठे हुए. Where is that going to lead? Nowhere. And Nishkarma, that is not doing anything that may lead us to the opposite direction. So always be in action. Always be in action, because whatever we do, we are sure we'll learn, we'll fall, we'll stand up again, we'll walk one path, we'll probably fall again, we'll stand up, and we'll continue walking, but one day we are going to reach the destination. And then in 306, it's a forceful call on Arjun. Karmendriyani sanyama ya aste manasa smarana. For he who has gone astray. So let's take it for those who are looking into the route of escapism. Just try a forceful control for one time on the senses. You will see that you are still keep thinking about what you've forgotten. Karma palayan jo karta hai na, he still that haunts his mind about what he should have done and he's not doing. And this is where Shri Krishna is using the stick on Arjuna. Not frightening him, but in a way being very strong. And then he's talking about Naish Karma. After that, what? So be Karma Yogi. Karma Yogi, man व इंद्रियों को वश करके काम करना. This is karma yogi. Man, the faculty which allows us to engage our mind and our body organs. This is the first to be in control, and remember, I always say the soul Atma is in the driver's seat. Whatever be the instructions on the clutch and the gear, on the steering wheel, will lead us to destination, correct instructions to the correct destination, and wrong instructions to the gutters. 308 is talking about karma shilata. Karma hinta se bara hai. Karma hinta for the people who are looking this on the route of escapism. Karma shilta, those who are strong on the path of swadharma, swakarma. And it's calling on Arjun कर्म बंधन से हटकर कर्म करें, पारितोषिक की आस्था नहीं रखें. And do we really apply that in day-to-day life? Like for most of you who are working, we know at the end of the month, the salary is credited in the bank account. So we are carefree about that. But do we still bear our responsibilities towards our duties and other things that we have to do 100% right, without any single tinge of negligence? And then the reference in the Shlok 309 was talking about that. The reference is also about when we are talking about Swajan and Sujan. The Swajan, Arjun is looking at the elderly around him. But then the Sanatan Dharma says puja in three ways. One is Devtaon ki puja, and Devtaon ki puja there is Jar and Chetan. Jar, like we do Bhumi puja, but instead of respecting the earth and not polluting the earth, what we do, we offer flowers and food to the earth. But the real Bhumi puja is about respecting the earth, keeping it clean and healthy. And Chetan puja also, care for the living, elderly, and knowledgeable around us. Unfortunately, yesterday I talked about that, the misunderstanding about Pitara. Then he's talking about unity. Unity is about Sangathan. And remember, the Pandavas are 100 united, and the Kauravas are 100 united, and the Pandavas are 5 united. Then it's called about Nishkam Puja, Kartavya Palan, not for the outcome. And one form of it is Vidya Dan, sharing of knowledge. And the beauty about knowledge which Krishna ji is sharing to Arjun, Shri Krishna is not expecting anything out of it. He's just expecting Arjun be on the path of his dharma and karma. And this is what knowledge, be it knowledge at the very elementary level, college level, post-graduation level, let's understand it. We have a duty of Purnamada Purnamidam. From whatever we've learned, we've acquired in this world, share the knowledge, and that knowledge will remain 100% with us, even after giving it 100%, 100 times to 100 different classes. And from that, let's Vidyadan be not only with the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic. Let's focus also on Charitra Nirman. And that is lacking in our education system of today. That's why we find more and more people on the path of escapism, karma, palayan. And what is the outcome of that? If you find Shri Krishna pushing Arjun into the battlefield to fight, it's because not only for Arjun, but it's for the common good to reinstate dharma in society. And Shlok 3.10, it talks about praising the virtues, गुणों की आराधना. And it's a reminder also, 3.10, which says, just 1 minute. Sa yadya praja shrestava purovacha prajapati anena prasava vishyadhva mesha vostveshta kamadhuka. He's talking about that. Arjun, you were born out of a worthy mother and father. So continue the lineage in the same sense. And we see the importance of begetting children, not only for begetting children, but for creating a new generation with excellence in all aspects, physical, moral, mental, spiritual, and social. We find it in Putreshti Yaj before the birth of Sri Ram. Sri Krishna himself observed 12 years of abstinence to beget of the highest quality of progeny. Insisting on universal welfare, talking about various types of Yadhiya, Agnihotra, that is, which we do Havan, for the benefit of living beings, because what we are because of our food. And when we do Agnihotra, it purifies the air, it goes into the clouds, come down into the rains, goes into the plants. And also talking about feeding other, caring other living for other living beings, which is Balivaishu Devyat in Sanatan Dharma. But then issues another warning. We go mostly on the wrong path. Why? Because we are always seeking heightened levels of pleasure. That is in Shlok 3:17. And this is where often in the world of today, when we are frustrated, we don't get the heightened levels of pleasure for which we need to put the additional output. But we don't want to put the additional output, the input, and we want the output to be greater. Sorry. The input should be equivalent to what we expect to the output or higher. But when we're looking at heightened levels of pleasure with the same level of input, then we are bound to get frustrated. And the solution out of it, we find the escapism route is the best, but it's not. It's probably the fastest way to move out. But then, as Sri Krishna says, this will continue to haunt you. So be careful. And that shlok reads as follows. Naivatasya kritenartha na kriteneha kaschana na chasya sarva bhuteshu kaschiddartha vyapashraya. And you see the link in the next shloka. It says, Tasmad sakta satatam karyam karma samachara asakto yachara karma paramaproti purushaha. So he's talking about the focus on karyam, karma. Satatam karyam karma samachara. And the second part, ya charan karma paramaproti purushaha. So always be dutiful. And that links with what is ahead also in the Gita. There's no contradiction there. And he says, do your duty in full knowledge of what you are doing. Going ahead in the same chapter, there's one question to those who abandon current life. Karma kartavya parayan versus karma kartavya palayan. What if you do not, or you are not able to bring to the organization that you are now joining as expected by the gurus leading the organization? Do you think they will still keep you or kick you out in the long run? I'm not talking of the short run. They will probably not kick you out, but then धीरे धीरे कोने में ढकेलते जाएंगे till you'll walk out yourself. Most of the youngsters on the route of escapism from Swadharma and Swakarma, they are just the marketeers of these organizations. I'm not blaming any organization in particular, but this is the current trend. And look, if we are going on Nishkam Karma, do we really need marketeers for such organizations? Then understand karma now from the point of view of Sattva karma, Rajas karma, and Tamas karma. If we understand those issues, then will be role models that are needed in this society. Will cease to be escapist and free 22. Sri Krishna shows that he still continues to do his duty in spite of he could just have sat down doing nothing. And that shlok, free 22, reads, Yadidaham na vartaye jatu karmanyatandrita mama vatpa vartante manushya partha sarvasha. He's talking to Arjun. He could have well not come with Arjun, but he chose to be with him and to be the role model to push Arjun for Swadharma and Swakarma. And remember, if we try to be role models to others, the easiest thing what people find is to copycat others. But as role models, be careful. 324 wants us. 324 is pushing us on Utsideyurame lokana kurya karma chedaham sankarasya sakarta syapuhya hanyamima praja. So be very careful on the path of your duties. And the duties are Krit, Karit, and Anumodit in line with the Yoga Darshan. Krit, what we do ourselves. Karit, what we cause others to do. Anumodit, where we give our consent. If we look at the Mahabharata, Krit, the action of Dushasan on disrobing Draupadi. Karit, the instructions of Duryodhan to Dushasan. Anumodit, the silence of Bhishma, Dronacharya, and others. I just hope I'm clear on this part. Often I've been talking on that. It just struck my mind now when I'm talking to you to give you the example in one single event of the Mahabharata. Krit, what Dushasan did was his karma. Karit, what Duryodhan called Dushasan to do, that was the Karit karma of Duryodhan. And the silence was consent from Bhishma and Dronacharya and others. Therefore, role models need to be with Atma Shuddhi, clear conscience. There we need not always use Tark Vitark. Shloka 326 is telling us, let's rather adopt the politics of Sanatan Dharma, Priti Purvak Dharma Anusar Yatha Yogya Vyavahar. Then we'll be in all humility. People will see us as ideal role models. Remember, Shri Krishna never showed arrogance. He was always humble. So, Shubh Karma mein anurag nahi. Whenever we're on the right path, trying to do good, let's not immerse ourselves in that. Otherwise, that would be asmita, not being able to differentiate ourselves from the karma. And this is where we jumble the soul with the body. And this is asmita in yoga philosophy. And Sri Krishna 330 reminds us, because Arjun is putting the question to him, Shishya ki bhanti, as Jidyasu, as seeker of knowledge. So we find Sri Krishna demonstrating spiritual leadership, and spiritual leadership in the servant leadership manner. For those who've done leadership courses, they will probably better understand what I'm talking about. Let's not, that's a strong warning also, Shishya ki bhanti, when we go to gurus, with all humility, but let's not be exploited in a skewed way. Because even Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, I'm giving you the knowledge. Go to Samadhi, use your discriminating faculty of the mind, and then apply the knowledge as far as you wish. So just not be blind followers. Let's always keep that mental state of vivek, discriminating faculty of the mind. I'll take the third part of it, bhakti, tomorrow, because sannyas is quite short. And then we'll do bhakti in sannyas. But I've showed you the path that dhyan, karma, and bhakti is a combination. It's a, as we say, a combo meal, जिसमें आपको सब स्वाद मिलेगा. Otherwise, आप रोटी अलग से खाएंगे, फिर दाल दूसरे समय पे खाएंगे, सब्जी तीसरे समय पे खाएंगे, सलाद चौथे समय पे खाएंगे, और डिजर्ट जो है वो परसों तरसों को खाएंगे. So you can't make the reference that you had a proper meal. So dhyan, karma, bhakti is a combo to be served at one and the same time. Let's understand that. I just hope I've been able to provide insight. Unfortunately, I've covered, I tried to cover the maximum. I've run nearly with the time. I don't know whether there are questions because I'm using the phone device to look at you. I don't see the chat. Thank you.
समय तो वैसे भी आचार्य जी आपके साथ पता ही नहीं लगता है किसी को. और क्वेश्चन आंसर्स के लिए I would like to invite, if anybody want to ask some question, they can just raise their hand or write on chat so that we can unmute them. So आज के इस a lesson from the Gita. जो गुरु गोविंद सिंह साहब जी ने भी कहा, देह शिवावर मोहे शुभ कर्मन ते कब न डरूं अरिसों जब जाए लड़ूं निश्चय कर अपनी जीत करूं. Purusharth, the object of human pursuit. Purush, human being. Artha, objective. So objective of life, the fulfillment of life, as well as the fulfillment for the society. So there is no escapism. I would like to convey this message through this workshop to all the young generation as well as generation from my age and the elderly, all the seniors, juniors, the whole society has to work together. Yoga never teaches escapism. We have to first fulfill all the duties. पुरुषार्थ के बाद ही हम आगे बढ़ सकते हैं और उसके लिए हम सबको कमर कस के काम करना पड़ेगा, जिसके लिए बहुत जरूरी है कि हम सब अपनी लाइफ के पर्पस को सबसे पहले डिसाइड करें और उसकी साधना शुरू करें. यही सच्ची साधना है. Any question if we can see in the chat? So we will go ahead with the questions. Sorry. डॉक्टर मीनाक्षी क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहती हैं. उनसे पहले एक क्वेश्चन अंशुमन जी ने लिखा हुआ है. आचार्य जी, कैन यू अनम्यूट मोनिका प्लीज, बिकॉज उनका क्वेश्चन जो है थोड़ा सा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड लग रहा है मुझे. श्लोका 308 श्री कृष्णा टोल्ड अबाउट कर्मशीलता. ओके, सो कैन यू एक्सप्लेन इट मोर ब्रीफली?
Yeah, karma shilta is about being dogged on our karma, being forceful in executing our karma. And remember, all our karma is guided by the principles of Sanatana Dharma. And he says, be aware when you are going to the gurus for knowledge, for whatever you learn, but judge it for yourself, whether it's ahimsa, satya, brahmacharya, and others. Learn it, use your judgment, your vivek buddhi. And once you use the vivek buddhi, you've contemplated upon them, you've come to the outcome when dhyan sakshatkar ho gaya. You've realized the knowledge and the purpose of the knowledge and where it can bring you to. Then you'll be always adamant and daring to assume your duties and responsibilities. This is karma shilata. Shil is referred to as the rock. Be as firm as the rock. And you know, during the Vivaha Sanskar, there's the Shilarohan Vidhi, where the bride puts the right toe on a piece of stone. That is symbolical, that she will be as firm as rock within the boundaries of dharma during the married life. So it's the same karma shilta which is referred there in Shlok 308.
धन्यवाद आचार्य जी. Dr. Meenakshi, you can ask your question. Dr. Monica, can you unmute her? And there are so many appreciation for this lecture. Dr. Aparna Nautiyal, Mr. Surendra Chaudhary, Mr. Atkor, and many more. Dr. Snehlata, Seema Verma ji, Sneha Pawar, Dr. Jagpal, Sudapa ji from DPS. Dr. Meenakshi, can you unmute yourself? Are you able to unmute? Dr. Neelam Barwankar, दीपक कुमार गौतम, ये सब आपके बहुत अप्रिसिएशन और धन्यवाद कर रहे हैं आपके इतने प्रेशियस टाइम के लिए। अंशुमन, सुनैना भाटी जी, एक क्वेश्चन और है, तब तक मैं पूछ लेती हूँ। हमारे एक स्टूडेंट है नीरज कुमार, जो बहुत योगा में एक्सपर्ट है, इन्वॉल्व है। हाउ वी कैन काम आवरसेल्फ ड्यूरिंग दैट सिचुएशन, जब हम गोल को अचीव करना तो चाहते हैं लेकिन फेल होते जाते हैं बार बार। सो हाउ कैन वी हैंडल दैट मूड?
Yoga Sutra, I think 114. Satodar kale nairantara satkara sevitodrer bhumi. You have to continue, be persistent, regular in your practice, with probably some lots more of passion, devotion, dedication. But when you are failing, you also have to do introspection, Atma Nirikshan. Try to look for the causes. And if you can't identify the causes, seek help. And always seeking help is not demeaning yourself, but trying to find solutions to problems which you can't solve yourself. Then also go on the path of what Sri Krishna himself is saying to Arjuna. Just revisit the knowledge, use our Vivek Buddhi. I'm not using this just Buddhi, but Vivek Buddhi. The capacity to analyze. And if we find fault in ourselves, we dare to recognize we have gone wrong somewhere and we need to review our strategies. And the best way out of it is to do pranayam before starting contemplating on what we've been doing and where we've been failing, because pranayam provides more oxygen to the brain and the mind operates better in a situation where the brain is more oxygenated, receiving more oxygenation. Otherwise, in the position of stress, oxygen levels in the brain goes down. And when oxygen level in the brain goes down, it's really difficult to use the discriminating or differentiating faculty of the mind. I just hope I've been able to bring some value addition to what you're already doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Acharya ji. Dr. Meenakshi, please go ahead.
हाँ जी, आचार्य जी, आज का जो आपका संबोधन था वो अति उत्तम। मैं आपकी क्या व्याख्या करूं और कल से भी ज्यादा इंसान चल रहा है, एक रास्ते पे आप चला रहे हैं और आगे बढ़ते जा रहे हैं, और बहुत सी जो दिमागी त्रुटि हैं वो सब सुलझ रही हैं। एक चीज मेरे दिमाग में हमेशा आती है कि कहा जाता है कर्मण्ये वाधिकारस्ते मा फलेषु कदाचन। बिल्कुल ठीक है, लेकिन हम सनातन पैदा हुए हैं और हम उसी को फॉलो करते हैं, पसंद करते हैं, मरेंगे जिएंगे उसी के साथ। लेकिन हमारे यहाँ ये कहा जाता है कि जब हम पैदा होते हैं तो ज्योतिष देखते हैं कि भाई क्या भाग्य लेके पैदा हुए हैं, आगे क्या होगा। जब दुख सुख आते हैं तब भी ज्योतिष या अपने गुरु जी के पास जाते हैं, पूछा जाता है, ये सब बातें हैं। तो मैं ये कंक्लूड करती हूँ इस बात को कि हम मतलब ये कहते हैं कि जो प्रारब्ध है या जो अपने संचित कर्म है, हमारी आत्मा जो हमारे स्थूल शरीर में आई है वो लेकर आती है। तो अब हम जो कर्म करेंगे वो तो जो हमारे संचित कर्म है वो ही तो हमसे करवाएंगे। मतलब कहने का है कि हम पौरुष में आ गए हैं, पुरुष हैं मतलब इंसान हैं, लेकिन हमारे हाथ में है क्या? हम तो भगवान की कठपुतली हैं। उन्होंने पहले ही हमारे संचित या हमारा प्रारब्ध डिसाइड कर दिया है और हम वी आर कंटिन्यूइंग विद दैट। तो अब हम जो कर्म कर रहे हैं वो अगले जन्म के लिए है। तो इस जन्म में जो कर्म करवाए जा रहे हैं वो तो पीछे से डिसाइडेड है। तो मैं क्या हूँ? मैं तो कुछ भी नहीं हूँ, मैं एक आत्मा हूँ। मैं मतलब हम लोग सब। तो ये बहुत हॉन्ट करता है। प्लीज आप इस पे थोड़ी सी लाइट थ्रो करें तो आपकी बहुत बहुत मेहरबानी होगी।
अच्छा, फर्स्ट थैंक यू फॉर दैट। फर्स्ट जो है, जो हम ज्योतिष वगैरह को देखते हैं ना, ये गीता के जो टीचिंग्स हैं उसके अनुकूल नहीं है।
जी जी
अनुकूल नहीं है क्योंकि हम वहां पे देखते हैं तो श्री कृष्ण जी बता रहे हैं कि हमारे जो प्रारब्ध कर्म है वो कहाँ पे हम जन्म लेंगे, किस स्थिति में जन्म लेंगे, वो सब प्रारब्ध पे हमारे डिसाइड होता है। और वहां पर भी ईश्वर सिर्फ न्याय करता है, उसके हिसाब से हमारा फल देता है। ही इज नॉट पुशिंग फॉर एनीथिंग। निष्पक्ष भाव से न्याय करके वो हमें अगला जन्म देता है। नाउ आत्मा जो है उसके पास कर्म करने के लिए स्वतंत्रता है, free will, and on the basis of the free will we can do good or we can do bad. ईश्वर क्या करता है? अंतर्यामी, अंदर से नियमन करता है, अंदर से गाइड कर रहा है। And when we are in a dilemma, just sit down in silence with attitude of yoga chitta vritti nirodha, put a halt to all the mental and emotional activities, listen to the inner voice. अंतरात्मा की जो आवाज है ना, वो ईश्वर के गाइडेंस है और वो हमें कभी फेल नहीं करेगा। एंड देन टू रिकॉग्नाइज द डिवाइन वॉइस, डिवाइन गाइड विद इन अस, हमें प्रैक्टिस चाहिए। इट्स नॉट दैट कभी हमें, जैसे कहते हैं ना, झटका दे करके बताता है, but then often it's the silent voice within us जो हम उसको अनसुना और देखा करके फिर हम करते जाते हैं। And again, if I link it with the Yoga Darshan, which I quoted, Sati Mule Tad Vipakashaya Jatir Ayu Bhoga. So, on the basis of हमारे जो संचित कर्म जो हम सूक्ष्म शरीर के साथ लेकर के आते हैं, प्रारब्ध जब बनता है, प्रारब्ध के हिसाब से हमें वो शरीर मिलता है, वो जाति मिलता है, यानी स्पीसी, not jati as we know currently, but jati is species here, life form. Then आयु के हिसाब से हमारे लाइफ स्पान मिलता है, and then उसके हिसाब से हमें क्या खाना है, क्या पीना है, उसका भोग मिलता है। But मनुष्य योनि is the one, human species, the only one with a mind to be able to decide between right and wrong. Others can do only what they've been programmed for. They say mango tree will give you only mangoes, cannot give you avocados. The lion is always a meat eater, is not a vegetarian. And it goes like that. गाय कभी मांस नहीं खाएगा, वो घास ही खाएगा, मरेगा भी लेकिन मांस नहीं खाएगा. So, but human is the only one to be able to decide. Unfortunately, we often forget about our swadharma and swakarma and do otherwise. This is where we go wrong. And swadharma and swakarma, if we are not able to decide, just give ourselves moments of silence. Listen to the inner voice, then act accordingly. अब जब हम ये मानते हैं कि हम भगवान के हाथ में कठपुतली है, तो जस्ट अंडरस्टैंड कर्म, अगर हम कठपुतली है तो द कर्म इज नॉट आवर्स, कर्म तो हमारा नहीं है, वो जो करा रहा है, जैसे मैंने कहा था ना, कृत कारित अनुमोदित, तो भगवान का भी हाथ हो जाता है उस कर्म में. That is a wrong thing which we've been taught and we've been repeating along. हम भगवान के हाथ में कठपुतली नहीं है. अगर हम कठपुतली है तो द वन हु इज कमिटेड ए क्राइम, वो तो भगवान का आदेश मान करके चल रहा है,
जी जी।
तो उसको हम क्यों सजा देते हैं? तो you see, this concept कि हम भगवान के हाथ में कठपुतली है, unfortunately is a wrong thing which has been taught to us over generations. And this is where often when we do something wrong, we say, हम क्या करें, हम भगवान के हाथ में कठपुतली है. No. Let's go according to what Sri Krishna is telling Arjun. Go into, जब समाधि की बात कर रहा है ना, everybody doesn't reach that stage, but moments of silence, everybody can practice that. And moments of silence, हर कोई जब करेगा, तो he will only find सही रास्ता उसके सामने आएगा.
जी आचार्य जी, बहुत आपने बहुत ही सिंपल शब्दों में समझाया, पर फिर मैं अभी और लोग भी पूछना चाहते होंगे, बस छोटी सी बात है। जैसे हम ये जो भीष्म पितामह थे या द्रोणाचार्य जी थे, चीरहरण की जैसे आपने एग्जाम्पल दी थी, मैं उस पर कहना चाहती हूँ कि भगवान तो हर जगह है, अंतर्यामी है, सर्वव्यापी है, तो उनको इतनी फ्री विल थी कि वो इतने नॉलेजेबल, बिल्कुल भगवान के समीप कहें या भगवानी वो थे पुरुष, और तब भी उनकी बुद्धि को उनकी फ्री विल ने चुप रहने के लिए कहा, या वो चुप रहना उनकी मेडिटेशन थी
ना,
या फिर समय ने ऐसा ही करवाना था? बातें हैं जो मन में आती हैं।
Yeah, that's a good question. कल मैंने एक आयुर्वेद के एक श्लोक को बोला था, आहार शुद्धौ सत्व शुद्धि, सत्व शुद्धि सत्व शुद्धौ बुद्धि शुद्ध, बुद्धि शुद्ध स्मृति लंबा. And Bhishma Pitamaha on the deathbed, उसने कह दिया था कि मैंने इसका नमक खाया था, अब ये सब मेरे खून से बाहर निकल गया, अब मैं धर्म की बात कर सकता हूं, उस समय नहीं कर पाया था. तो it goes in the same line. आहार शुद्धो सत्व शुद्धि, सत्व शुद्धो बुद्धि शुद्ध, and buddhi shuddho smriti lamba. It's only that effect. इसलिए आयुर्वेद में, योग में भी आहार पर बहुत बल दिया गया है. Be careful. Ahar shuddho means ahar which has come from righteous earnings, where there is no hinsa, there is no, as we say, hanky-panky which has gone into the earnings of to buy or to procure the food.
आचार्य जी, जो भीष्म पितामह ने एंड में ऐसा पाश्चाताप या जो भी कहूँ वो किया, लेकिन मैं उसको कहती हूँ, या मैं क्या कहती हूँ, ऐसा ब्रेन कहता है कि अब पछताए होत क्या जब चिड़िया चुग गई खेत. मतलब द्रौपदी का भी चीरहरण हो गया, लड़ाई होके 100 के 100 पुत्र भी चले गए उनके, इतने साइंटिफिकली पैदा हुए थे, क्लोन वगैरह थे वो, या जो भी थे. तो ये मेरे पता नहीं मन में शायद सबको ही आता होगा, ये होता है कि जब गलत काम हो रहा है, चाहे उसमें, मैं नहीं कह रही कि बिल्कुल आप मर जाएं या जो भी हो, लेकिन उस वक्त उस टाइम पर, उस मोमेंट पे अगर आप उस चीज को अपोज करना या प्रोटेक्शन करना या नहीं कर सकते, तो फिर मैं उस पुरुष को कैसे महानता और उसके गुणगान किए जाते हैं समझ में नहीं आता. बस यही मैं रुकूंगी.
दूसरों के गुण और अपनी गलतियों को देखा करो. You remember yesterday I told the line? Go according to that.
जी आचार्य जी, एक लास्ट क्वेश्चन हम और लेंगे. रजत त्यागी जी का है कि मनुष्य जन्म 84 लाख योनियों के बाद ही क्यों मिलता है?
ये कोई शास्त्र में नहीं है 84 लाख योनि के बाद.
जी.
सांख्य दर्शन में ये है. वामदेव मोक्ष से आया था, उसका मोक्ष काल, मुक्ति का काल समाप्त हो गया था, फिर जन्म लिया और उसी एक जीवन में उसको मोक्ष में दोबारा जाना हुआ. 84 लाख योनि, देयर इज नथिंग व्हिच इज मेंशन, कोई शास्त्र में नहीं है. वो लोग कहते आए हैं और ये नहीं कि हम मनुष्य जन्म से छूट करके फिर 84 लाख योनि में घूम करके फिर मनुष्य जन्म में आना है. नहीं, ये गीता में भी नहीं है. कृष्ण स्वयं कहते हैं कि मैंने अनेकों जन्मों में धर्म का कई प्रचार प्रसार में लगा हुआ था, जन्म जन्मांतरों के काम से. और उसमें योग दर्शन में भी है कि सती मूले तद विपाकाशय जातिर आयु भोग. सो इट मीन्स इफ वी बीन गुड. और महर्षि व्यास जी का योग दर्शन भाष्य में यह है कि जब हमारे बुरे और अच्छे कर्मों समतल हों, that is at equal level, तो हमारे सामान्य मनुष्य जन्म मिलता है. जितने जितने अच्छे कर्म बुरे कर्मों को आउटवे करेगा उतना ही जो है हम धार्मिक संपन्न परिवार में जन्म लेंगे. और बुरे कर्म अगर भले कर्म से भी ज्यादा हैवी हो तो वो नीचे की अवस्था, नीचे की योनियों में जाएंगे. और वेद कहता है अंधन तम प्रविशन्ति ये के चात्महनो जना. उसमें क्या है कि अगर इतने बुरे कर्म भी कर दिए तो जिसको हम कहते हैं ना, जहां पर पूरे अंधकार है, अंधन तम प्रविशन्ति, ऐसे योनियों में हम जन्म लेंगे. एंड इफ दैट इज कंपेयर्ड टू जिसको हम सामान्य भाषा में बोलते हैं ना, गंदी नाली के कीड़े. We should know how these maxims, these proverbs came about. कि ऐसे जगह में हमारे जन्म मिलेंगे जहां पर सूर्य की किरण नहीं पहुंचना है. तो वो 84 लाख योनि की बात जो है वो कोई शास्त्र वाले प्रमाणित बात नहीं है, बस सुने सुनाई बातें हैं. I'll just give you one example. शायद 3-4 दिन पहले मैंने एक मंत्र को डाला था अपने फेसबुक पेज पे और व्हाट्सएप पोस्ट में. शक्ति मंत्र तेजोसी तेजोमयी देही. किसने मुझे कहा कि गीता में कुछ और है, तो मैंने उसको कहा कि गीता में कौन से चैप्टर और कौन से श्लोक है वो मुझे बताने की कृपा करें. एंड ही इज साइलेंट सिंस 4 days. बिकॉज क्या है, प्रमाण कुछ नहीं है. वैसे ही 2-3 महीने पहले किसी ने मुझे भेजा था, वेद में ये लिखा है. मैंने कहा कौन से वेद में है और कौन से अध्याय कौन से मंत्र है. ही जस्ट डिलीटेड हिज कमेंट्स. तो वो प्रमाणित बातों को लेकर के चले तो ज्यादा अच्छा है.
जी बिल्कुल. डॉक्टर VVBN राव, लास्ट क्वेश्चन हम लेंगे. सर ने हाथ रेज किया हुआ है, हैंड रेज किया हुआ है. सो सर प्लीज चेक, कैन यू अनम्यूट योरसेल्फ? If not, then we will try from here.
Well,
जी sir.
good morning, sir. I seek some clarification on the following. Present life pattern is based on karma of a previous life. Then how far is the individual responsible for his actions in this life?
Okay. So our karma has brought us to the status we are where we are born in the present environment. But then since we have free will, we have the capacity to decide whether we want to do this or we want to do that. That decision is within me. So that free will which we have and we exercise, this is where we become responsible for our karma. And on that same basis, we are makers of our own destiny, of our own future birth. Remember, karma karne ke liye hum pure swatantra hai. We have the free will, and this free will we exercise every day at all moments in life. But since we've been doing it, we don't realize the importance of that free will, but compare it to other living species. I take, without demeaning any other life forms, I take a cat. It will eat what it eats, but then it can't stand the sight of a mouse. But we people, when we see a snake, even if it's not a hazard to us, हम लकड़ी लेकर के उसके पीछे भागते हैं. We try to kill it. It's just that we are acting on impulse instead of putting a hold and see whether that is the proper karma or not. So there are so many examples which I can give. Like, look at the lion. It will eat only meat, and when it goes into old age, it can't run, it can't chase after the prey, then it dies of hunger. But we human beings, we live within a society. When somebody gets old, the young still cares for the elderly who can't work. So this is our free will. And as such, I repeat it again, we are makers of our own destiny, our own future, even the path makers of our future next birth. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Acharya ji. Dr. Anju Luthra from GMC, she has just asked me to convey great thanks from her side. And everybody is blessed to hear you. And again, it gives a deep insight and a different perceptions and perspective of Gita. Dhanyavad. Now
It's
I would
only
like
one
to...
word. My approach is always to be practical, the practical applications of the teachings, whether I use the Gita or any other topic I'm dealing with, it's always the practical approach, so that becomes easy to understand. That is what probably makes the difference.
Right. Very true, because a lot of time we just see that we have a lot of knowledge, but application or relation to our day-to-day life is missing, and that's why people get confused why we are studying this, why we are reading this, because the application of knowledge is very important, and that only can complete the what we say expertise or knowledge about that particular content or subject. थैंक यू सो मच आचार्य जी. रुचिका जी ने शायद कोई क्वेश्चन पूछा है. रुचिका जी, अब हम कल आपके क्वेश्चन से ही स्टार्ट करेंगे, बट आज के लिए टाइम काफी हो गया है. सभी लोगों को अपने कॉलेज के लेक्चर्स ज्वाइन करने हैं. थैंक यू सो मच, एंड आई वुड लाइक टू इनवाइट डॉक्टर राजेंद्र राव टू कंक्लूड टुडेज सेशन. थैंक यू सो मच.
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you, Acharya ji, for simplifying the values of yoga in Gita. Again, so taking a leaf out of today's session, yoga is the medicine for nearly every problem. As we practice yoga, it does not only help us to improve our physical body, but also helps in maintaining inner peace and relaxing mind. So in Gita, Krishna defines yoga as yoga karam su kaushalam. योग से कर्म में कुशलता आती है, और एक अन्य स्थान पर वो कहते हैं सिद्ध्य सिद्ध्यो समो भूत्वा समत्व योग उच्यते। अर्थात सफलता असफलता वो सुख दुख से विचलित हुए बिना कोई व्यक्ति निष्काम भाव से कर्म करता है, तो यही योग है। तो गीता में योग शब्द को कई अर्थों में प्रयोग किया गया है, लेकिन हर योग अंततः ईश्वर से मिलने का ही मार्ग है। सो गीता में योग के कई प्रकार है, लेकिन मुख्यतः आज आपने 3 योग के बारे में हमें बताया, ज्ञान योग, कर्म योग और भक्ति योग। So karma yoga, one should act selflessly without attaching himself or herself with outcome, and one should not think whether the results of the actions will be positive or negative, happiness giving or full of sorrows, benefiting or utter loss, and one should simply do it, leaving the rest to the Supreme Soul. Gita also says that one should not be attached emotionally with the task being done or what would come out of it. तो कर्म पर ही आपका अधिकार है, कर्म के फलों पर कभी नहीं. So Bhakti Yoga is doing bhakti of Lord selflessly, revering gods altruistically. This form of yoga can be practiced even in regular life, as one does not need to leave everything to or follow rigorous regime in order to attain salvation. So this form of yoga simply advises one to get absorbed in the Supreme Soul. जो व्यक्ति अपना मन सिर्फ मुझ में लगाता है और मैं ही उसके विचारों में रहता हूँ, जो मुझे प्रेम और समर्पण के साथ भजते हैं और मुझ पर पूर्ण विश्वास रखते हैं, वो उत्तम श्रेणी के होते हैं. यही योग भक्ति का सार है. इसके अलावा द ज्ञान योग इज द पाथ ऑफ अटेनिंग नॉलेज ऑफ द ट्रू नेचर reality through the meditations and self-inquiry and contemplation and awareness of absolute consciousness, and is a comprehensive practice of self-study, जिसको हम स्वाध्याय भी बोलते हैं. ज्ञान योग अपनी और अपने परिवेश को अनुभव करने के माध्यम से समझना है, और ज्ञान के माध्यम से ईश्वरीय स्वरूप का ज्ञान, वास्तविक सत्य का ज्ञान ही ज्ञान योग का लक्ष्य है. So again, a very wonderful experience to connect with you, Acharya ji, and thank you so much for guiding us towards the right path, undertaking a search for answers to the deep questions of life. Why is there so much suffering? What is the purpose of life? And you have simplified the values from Gita to us. I'm sure that people are taking this perspective from today's session are going to apply in their daily lifestyle. So accept my heartfelt gratitudes for your time, support, and patience. So now, ma'am, I'm moving to the next segment. Word of thanks. Should I?
Yes, Dr. Rajendra, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. So pranam and good mornings to one and all. I deem it a great honors and privilege to thank word of thanks to today's wonderful session. First and foremost, our thanks to Param Shraddha Acharya Brahmadev Mukundlal ji, who have specially joined us from Atlanta, USA, and very kindly accepted our humble request to grace today's workshop on Karma Yoga. Your august presence provides the much needed encouragement to the participant, scholars, and students engaged in furthering the horizons of the knowledge and learning. Acharya ji, we hope we would continue to have your support and blessing as we endeavor to bring transformations through people's life. For all that, our humble and sincere thanks. We also thank our worthy principal, Dr. Rajiv Agrawal, whose dynamic leadership and affable qualities have been a constant source of inspiration for our staff and student. Thank you very much, sir. My gratitudes to Professor Kamalkant Gupta ji, Vice Principal, sir. Let me take this opportunity to thank you for your support, which has always been forthcoming. Our gratitudes and sincere thanks to our respected teachers. I would like to mention here Dr. Meenakshi, Dr. Seema, Dr. Munish Chakravarti, Dr. Anju Luthra, Dr. Ajay Pratap Singh Gehlot, Dr. Surinder Singh, Dr. Virender Kumar, Dr. Rao, Dr. Sneha, Dr. Kulvinder, Dr. Rohini Chauhan, Dr. Pawan Patel, Dr. Prem Prakash Sharma, Dr. Girija, Dr. Kanan, Dr. Aparna Nautiyal, Dr. Monica, and all the yoga gurus, practitioners, and participants all across the world. We feel proud and thank you for making us feel happy with your presence. So I extend my thanks to, again, Dr. Anjum Padiyal, sitting on the other sides of the world, and leading our team. For all that, thank you so much, ma'am. So we also extend our thanks to Dr. Aditya Saxena, convener IQAC, Dr. Monica Bajaj, for always being at the forefront of every activity and continuous technical support. The silent worker behind the scenes deserve special thanks. My sincere apologies to those whom inadvertently I missed out. And we thank you for being with us this morning. It's been really a great pleasure. So do join us tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a valedictory session as well. So the theme of the tomorrow's session is Karam Sanyam. So till then, thank you very much again, and namaskar.
सभी को धन्यवाद.
Thank you everybody. धन्यवाद सभी को.
कल इसी समय 7 बजे से 8:30 बजे और उसके बाद हम 5 से 10 मिनट का एक वैलिडिक्टरी फंक्शन रखेंगे सभी लोगों के लिए. धन्यवाद.